I'm Esterita Austin, and I'm here to give you a supply list for my class, Portraiture class. The class is taught all around the country, and I usually do hand out a supply list with each venue, which will give you a very good detailed information on what to bring. But I find that if I show you visually what to bring, you'll have a little less confusion and you'll be able to be more successful in the class. The first thing I'm going to ask you to bring when you do read the instructions, which I do hope you will do, is I tell you how to take your photograph. Now, I do recommend that you don't do photographs of children or animals, as they're very difficult to do. And it's really far more successful if you do a self-portrait and you have someone take a photograph of yourself, or you do it on a timer. It's a wonderful way to explore a portrait, and I know many of you don't want to do that, but it really does work out very well. When you take your photograph, on the description sheet that you'll get, it says to get in as close as you can with the viewfinder of the camera so you can get most of the face in. And what I mean by that is to not have a lot of extraneous empty space around the face, to get in as much as you can so you can focus in on the detail in the face. If you have a small face in the middle of the frame and a lot of empty space, you're not going to get any detail, and it won't be a successful class. And what we really want to do, since you're investing time and effort and money into these classes, is to be as successful as possible. Here's another example, that an 11 by 17, and I normally recommend you bring an 8 by 10 and an 11 by 17 from which to work, so it gives us options when we're copying them. And this is yet another. Again, with the photograph, I'm going to ask you not to use a flash at all when you take your photograph. But what I'd like you to do is have a single light source coming from one direction, focused on the person. It doesn't really matter which side it is. Actually, these are pretty much all on the same side, but it can be from underneath, it can be from the left side or the right side. By doing that, we're creating very strong highlights and very nice dark shadows, and that's what we want to work with when we work with creating the portrait. You might also want to take a photograph of the same subject a little further away to get their whole body, so we can refer to that if you want to include the rest of the person's body later on. Okay, so that's for the photograph. Single light source, no flash, and getting as much of them as possible. One thing as well to be careful of is when you do take the photograph of them, try to have it so the shadows are not so deep that it looks just like a black form. You want to get different levels of shadows, of medium shadows and medium light shadows, etc. So we have different values with which to work. So that's the photographs. Let's go over to the fabrics. Now, with the fabrics, I ask you to bring multi-value, multicolor fabrics all in one piece, which can be confusing. I find that you can get them out of wonderful hand dyes, and there are many hand dyes out there that do have many different colors in them, different values in them, and by value I mean darks, mediums, and lights. And by having as many different colors and values in a piece of fabric as possible, we are giving ourselves a full palette with which to work, so we can create an entire piece out of one really yard of fabric if you want to do it that way. If you choose to bring many pieces of fabric with different values in them, say commercial fabrics, this is a commercial fabric that has different values in it, but it really is all light and light medium. You might want to combine it with another commercial fabric that has some more mediums and darks. It's up to you whether you want to work with commercial or hand dyes. Lately, I've been finding that hand dyes have been offering me a great deal more variety. Even if you wanted to do it, you could do it monochromatically, blacks, whites, and grays. That's certainly possible. These fabrics are by Carleen Keller on the Big Island in Hawaii, and she does a wonderful job of hand dyeing those. And there are other wonderful dyers out there, as long as you can get lights, mediums, darks, and wonderful textures and a variety of action in a piece, you'll be successful. Let's go over to the, going back to the fabric, sorry. I really would encourage you not to work with flesh tones. This is not about recreating a portrait in flesh tones. This is about stepping outside of the box and working with colors you wouldn't normally associate with human beings. You might want to do it in fluorescent colors, muted tones. You can tell these certainly are not, don't look like flesh tones, but they can certainly come out that way. As far as tools go, well, a little bit more fabric, sorry. You're going to need a piece of black cotton fabric for your background. If you're going to be doing a week-long class, you'll need about a yard. If you're doing a 2 or 3 day class, I would say a half a yard is plenty. Okay, that's going to be our background fabric. With tools, I have some tools set up here. I've asked you to bring an X-Acto knife, a rotary cutter, a pencil, a pen, magic tape. Try to bring the magic tape because it comes off paper far more easily than the shinier tape. If you can, possibly, if we have walls to put things on, some painter's tape and straight pins. I also would ask you, if you're going for a week-long class, to bring parchment paper and freezer paper. Now the freezer paper needs to be enough to be what your finished piece is going to be. So if you're planning on doing a piece that's, say, 25 by 35, bring that much freezer paper, and we'll be able to tape it together with the magic tape. You'll also need an iron. I happen to like these Hobbyco irons, but any iron will do, and an ironing pad. With your rotary cutter, you'll need a rotary cutter mat. And if you prefer, or if you want to have it on the side, bring some paper and fabric scissors as well. I'm wondering if there's anything I might have forgotten. Could you hand me, I'm talking to my cameraman, could you hand me that portrait of Peter over there on the table? And I'll just give you a little bit of an idea of a piece I just started with some of these fabrics, and you can get an idea of how they can work. So this is something that's just been recently started. It's certainly not finished, but you get the idea of how these fabrics can go together to create a face. And this is just the beginning stage. It's later on we're going to paint with it, and I will provide the paints and palettes and brushes and so forth to really enhance this and make it more of a 3D impression. Now, if you'd like to, go to my website, www.esteritaAustin.com, and you can see many portraits by students that have been done over the years, and you'll get a better idea of what types of fabrics to bring and what can be done. So if you have any questions, please email me at esterita2@aol.com. Thank you very much.